Hello, everyone. Okay, I think it's stable now. Can we all hear me? Please let's try to reload it. It might be the network issue, but I think it's stable now. Awesome. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, yes. Now let's get back into it. We have been talking about federalism from the very first onset, all right? We have been discussing federalism from the very onset, and so far you can tell that we have considered the term, all right, federalism from different angles. We have considered the term federalism from different angles, from different spheres, and from different scholars' philosophy. Now, in view of that, it's going to be a continuation of the term philosophy, all right, considering words, different countries, all right, country from different parts of the world that exercises what we refer to as federalism and how they ended up adopting this federalism. We're going to be considering what other system of government have these countries adopted that didn't work for them and they ended up adopting federalism. All right. Yesterday, we considered the United States of America. So today, we're going to be taking it up from the Switzerland. All right. So according to the thumbnail, we have the Switzerland contents. Okay. So now, speaking of the Switzerland contents, all right. Speaking of the Switzerland content, it became a federal state in 1884. Became a federal state in 1884. Probably I should have written that with a red marker or just put it in a red box. It became Switzerland became a federation. Are we together? Switzerland became a federation in 1884. Please, if you cannot see the board clearly, ensure to increase, all right? Ensure to improve the video quality on your smartphone, on your device. How do you get to that? Just tap on the screen and you find where it says settings. You find the setting icon, click on it, you click on advanced, find where it says video quality. You click on it, at least put it on 720 or 1080p. That is okay. Now, prior to the development, the country operated before Switzerland ended up Switzerland ended up adopting the federal system. It's adopted, embraced the confederal system, about confederation, where you have different states, different um, sovereign states coming together to form a central government. All right, so this is what the Swedes, the Swedes political history was like, dates back to 1291. All right, Swedes dates back to 1291. All right, prior to the development, the country operated the confederal system. Operated the confederal system. Are we together? And like I said earlier, we'll talk about the confederal system. This is a system of government whereby different sovereign states come together to achieve, all right, different sovereign states come together to form a central government. Are we together? So we have that as that. Now, now, just like I said earlier, before the development, all right, prior. So we have that as that. Now, let's put into consideration the political history of this country. Let's put into consideration the political history of Switzerland. Speaking of which, originally inhabited by the Celtic, all right, Helvetians, all right, those are the people that inhabited Switzerland, all right, the Celtic, let's put that down, Celtic Helvetians, Celtic Helvetians, right? They are the ones that inhabited the territory, all right, which we now refer to as the modern Switzerland, all right. Now, these people came under the Roman rule, all right. They came under the Roman rule during the Gallic Wars in the first century, all right, in the first century BC, and remained a Roman province until the fourth century AD. Wow. All right. So, speaking of the political history of this country, the Celtic Helvetians, all right, are the habitats of modern day Swiss, all right, came under the Roman rule during the Gallic War, all right, and this Gallic War happened, all right, these Gallic Wars happened during the first century before Christ, all right. All right, and not until the 4th century, all right, Annum Domini, they never got the freedom they sought. All right. So after the decline of the Roman Empire, Switzerland was also invaded by Germanic tribes from both north and west. All right. After the collapse, all right, after the decline of the Roman Empire, now they are now free. And unfortunately, there was another invasion from by Germanic tribes from the north and the west. So in all right, so we have that as that. All right. So in about 800, all right, Anno Domini, the country became part of Charlemagne Empire. All right. Now you can imagine from falling from being under the Roman rule to the invasion and to Charlemagne Empire, they eventually, all right, they later, under the domination of the Holy Roman emperors in form of small what ecclesiastic and temporal holding subjects in imperial sovereignty. All right. So now this is the business breakdown. So from this Gallic War, all right, Germanic invasion, and the Charlemagne, okay, that's Charlie, all right, Meng, to Holy Roman Emperor. Okay, now after some time, there was a flaring, all right, there was a flaring, a disturbance, all right, a continuous disturbances, all right, flare up after the death of the Holy Emperor in 1291. All right. So remember that they are now under the rule, all right, the sovereignty of the Holy Roman Emperor. All right. So there was a time that the Holy Roman Emperor died in 1291. Now, so here now it's more like a monarchical system of government. All right. Definitely, it was a monarch. All right. So this monarch, who happens to be the Holy Emperor, died in 1291. All right. And the ruling families from Uri, Swiss, and Unterwalden, all right, these are the major, remember we said confederation, that the major sovereign states that came together, all right, and these three major states formed what we refer to as the modern day Switzerland, although other states joined eventually. But these three ruling states, all right, they are the three ruling family. Now, these three ruling states, we have families from them. So they came together and signed a charter to keep public peace, all right, pledging mutual support and upholding autonomous administrative and judicial rule. Now, like I said, these three states, all right, they are referred to as the forest cantons. So in Switzerland, they are not referred to as states, they are referred to as cantons. All right, cantons. Let me write out write out their name. We have Yuri, which that is and Hunter Walden. Let's see if we can squeeze that in here. Hunter Walden. All right. So they came together because of the uprising. They had to sign what we refer to as a charter to keep public peace. That is just to tell us that people, the citizens, have been clamoring for this freedom. Even under this monarch, the freedom was still a thing the people wanted. So it was an opportunity for them to seize the freedom when the emperor died. All right. But three forest cantons, all right, that formed the nucleus of the old Swiss Confederation, all right, in 1291, laying the fountain for modern Switzerland, came up and gave this charter ensuring peace. Okay, so we have that as that. So this particular day, all right, this particular events, are we together? This particular event, all right, then, all right, was acknowledged and it formed the basis for the anniversary of the charter signing, which is in August 1, 1291, and it's been celebrated as Switzerland National Day. All right, so every August 1st has now been dedicated for the celebration of Switzerland Day. Are we together? Okay. Now let's take a step further. Now we have talking about the evolution of federalism, the evolution of federalism in Switzerland. Now, the new federal states was still extraordinarily decentralized with limited competence. All right. So remember what we said after the charter, all right, these brought together from confederation to federalism, considering that there was need to embrace peace and stabilized unity. All right. So speaking of the federalism, the evolution of federalism now there was a pressure that had led to the transformation of the confederation. All right. Remember the pressure. A federal states were published pushing. The federal states were now pushing in the direction for a greater centralized. All right. To the later. Now the main drive was desire for harmonized regulation across cantons. All right, harmonized regulation across states in order to facilitate economic activity. Okay, Just a moment. Trying to. Now, as we have emphasized, that the main push, all right, is for a stabilized. In order to ensure, all right, in order to ensure the facilitation of economic activity, all right, in order to ensure economic activities, the Swiss citizens realize that there is need for a federation. All right. So constitutions were being amended, and more policies were being created just to fortify and enhance this federalism. So we have their intergovernmental relations. Now, in Switzerland, the federation composed, all right, of 26 cantons, all right, 26 cantons. The federation composed of 26 cantons, which each six, all right, each six are so-called half cantons arising out of the historical. Now, out of these 26, six, all right, happens to be half cantons. Now, these half cantons are referred to as half cantons out of, all right, the historic division of three cantons taking place before the foundation of the federation. Remember that we had three, all right, states that made up the confederation. So even after the federation, six out of these 20 were still referred to as half cantons, basically because they are the founding fathers or the founding states for federalism. While the half cantons have the same independence as the 20 cantons, all right, with the exception that they have only have the representation when the formal tools of shared rules are concerned. Okay, please take note of that. Now let's take a step further. Also, the federal council, there's a federal council, all right, and this federal council is composed of seven federal councillors. All right, these councillors are elected both by the Chamber of Federal Parliament, each of whom is head of ministry. All right, together they form the Swiss executives. All right. Now, for government decisions, all members of the federal councils have equal votes. Please take note of that. And the division of function between the three levels of government is primarily regulated through constitutional norms. So Swiss is a country that acknowledges, that works with constitution. So very quickly, let's touch India. Our time is fast spent, and I want us to cover everything tonight. Now, for Indian, all right, India is a country with the population of over 1 billion people. All right. Now, this population is so massive that it forms one out of seven of the world's population. All right. Now, India is therefore regarded as the world's largest democracy. Okay. One of the consequences of colonialism in India is the spread of English language. All right. We were being colonized by Britain. So therefore, English language happens to be the dominant language, all right, which aided mass mobilization under and forged a political unity which the national leadership was built upon. All right. Now, Mahatma Gandhi was the father of the nation. All right. Now, India experienced a disturbing decolonization period. All right. During the process of trying to get independence, it came with a whole lot of struggles and tussles. But the founding fathers, in their own wisdom, did it fit to lay a solid foundation for a durable democracy. Are we together? Now, when we talk about India now, it is located in the south of Asia, and the name Indian came from the Indus River, located in South Asia. All right. And the name Indian came from Indus River. Okay. So we have that as that. Let's talk about their political history. India gained our independence on the 15th of August 1947. The task for the whole of India, especially our leaders, was integration and preservation of national unity of Indians. All right. You can imagine a country with that massive population. Okay. The tax was the tax is not an easy one. All right. A country with a 1 billion population. All right. Bearing in mind the gross diversity, all right, of the people in India, dividing among ethnicity, considering that these people with different background, religion, ethnicity, language, and so on. Now, the Indian, which they inherited from the colonial masters, had been one of abject, all right, social injustice, economic inequality, and poverty. All right, you can imagine. It's not even a thing of the country is very rich. All right, it has been easy to propagate unity. All right, it has been easy to preach unity. But considering the fact that the country was left in absolute poverty, all right, some serious poverty, level of poverty, all right, after the partition of India, all right, the onus, the responsibility of drafting, That's what it means by onus. A constitution in line with the federal principle fell, all right, on the Constituent Assembly, that's CA, the Constituent Assembly, which was formed in 1946. All right, the responsibility of drafting the constitution. Now you have your freedom. Your freedom has been granted. All right, so there has to be a guide to every governmental decisions and how the government should be run. So this responsibility fell on the Constituent Assembly. Now, the drafting of Indian federal constitution was conditioned by federal examples from places like US, Canada, and infused with all right, local peculiarities. Definitely, all right. You can only a servant cannot be greater than his master. All right, considering the set of countries that has, all right, India been been privileged to watch or see or view, definitely they are, and they are colonizers as well. So everything basically most time is structured according to their colonizers. All right. So now they gave room for the changes that might not be possible if they had to all right, if they had a constitution with strict federal principles. Now, a strong central government was necessary for handling situations around, all right, communal riots and preceded, all right, complaints, crisis, in order to maintain a national unity. So, speaking of federalism now, so there was a concentrated center that can take decisions to ensure unity, considering their vast population. Now, speaking of the intergovernmental relations in India, now the constitution, let's include this constitution drafting onus. So now the Constitution of India recognizes the office of the president, a role similar to that of the Britain Queen. All right. Speaking about intergovernmental relations now, how governmental activities takes place among governmental bodies. It represents the nation but does not rule the nation. Are we together? Ceremonial head, more like a presidential stem of government. All right. He is elected into office by elected members. Are we together? Is elected into the office by elected members. Are we together? Our time is fast spent. We need to begin to call things a wrap with. Now, he is elected into the office by elected members of the parliament and of state legislative assembly by a method of what we refer to as all right, proportional representation through a single transferable vote as the head of the state for 5 year tenure. We do 4 years. For them, it's 5 years. In as much as he was elected, he can also be impeached if he violates the constitution. So we have that as that. So very quickly, I want us to go straight to what is constitutionalism. Now we'll talk about constitutionalism. All right, it's a term. This term is derived from constitution, from the word constitution. It's a term derived from the word constitution. Now, when we talk about constitution, we already know what a constitution is. All right, it's a collection of principles according to which powers of government, rights of governed, and the relations between the two are adjusted. It is the fundamental law according to the relations of individuals to the community are determined. Now, when we talk about constitutionalism, all right, it refers to the strict compliance, all right, to the instruction provided, all right. So, constitution is seen as the documentation or the set of principles. So, the act of observing, all right, strictly adhering to this constitution now is now what we refer to as constitutionalism. So, very quickly, let's talk about separation of power, something we've talked about earlier, but I just want to get something from here. When we talk about the separation of powers, Baron de Mosquiter is credited as the creator of this principle, all right, of the separation of power. Now, Mosquiter argues that in order that liberty may be preserved, we need to demystify, we need to eliminate the concentration of power, because absolute power does what? Corrupt absolutely. All right. In order to ensure that there is what we refer to as liberty, all right, and it is being preserved for as long as possible, there ought to be what we refer to as separation of power. And lastly, and we want to talk about separation of power, we're talking about power being properly distributed among the organs of government, the likes of the legislator, the legislative power, all right, the executive power, and the judicial power. So now, the last thing we have here, we have before the last thing we have decentralization. We talked about that already, where power is not being focused on just one level of government. Okay, and we have democracy. Okay, when we talk about democracy, something not new to us, it's a term that we've heard of so many times. Oh, I thought you were checking before. Okay, I think battery of my phone is running low already. I think I need to connect it to the charger. Okay, so now, lastly, according to what we have here, we have democracy. Now, when we talk about democracy, it is a system of government. This system of government is, all right, the one the one in which power is vested, all right, power is vested in the people, all right, and exercised directly or indirectly through a system of representation. Through a system of representation, all right, which typically involve periodic free election, all right. So we have that as that. So, like I usually say, what we do here basically is more like 30%. The 70% is restricted to members of the private class. So, if you haven't joined the private class yet, you want to ensure to reach out to us today on our official website on which is www.tutoral.net. Send us a direct message using the WhatsApp button in the top right hand corner. Do have a wonderful evening. I look forward to your subsequent tutorials. Bye for now.